Hello, and welcome to the Simuldub Saints, your guide to seasonal anime dubs. I'm your host, LazyKid, and with me as always is my trusty co-host.
Hello, I am Archangel, lover of cat girls.
You've been listening to our theme song, Wherever I Go, from front of the podcast, Ampren. Please check out their awesome music, link in the description.
And this episode has been sponsored / commandeered by the Adeptus Terra. More about them at the end.
For the Emperor.
For the Emperor, brother.
Alright, well, we got a little bit of news before we jump right into the Winter 2025 Seasonal Awards. The first bit of news is that Ghost in the Shell is getting another TV anime, but this one appears, at least, to be trying to do a 100% accurate manga adaptation. At least that's my read on it, based on the art design and everything. And it's Science Saru, the guys behind Don the animations, that are doing it, and it looks good.
So, my only exposure to it really was Standalone Complex, so
that is, to my experience,
have absolutely no opinion.
That is the best version I have seen. It is the only version I've really loved, but I'm willing to give a back to basics approach. They've never actually done that, so
yeah. I mean, as long as they don't misunderstand Major Kusanagi from the way she dresses for whatever reason, like everyone else does.
Well,
that's really the problem with the show.
Looking at what they've got her dressed at on that poster there, I think they're going for. That's why I actually think going back to the basics of the.
That looks like, that makes me wonder if that's a flashback to when she was in the war, except for the background. But anyway,
it looks very 80s, which is kind of appropriate for the manga.
Oh, that too. I'm just talking about her actual kit and stuff. Yes, it looks more from when she was in the JSDF, but
yeah, I'm and also based on how they did Don, I trust Science Saru. I'm very excited to see what they do here.
Mm-hmm.
For the JoJo guys out there, we've got some news. Steel Ball Run has been officially announced. We're now up to a Part 7 adaptation, and I still need to watch Part 6 because Netflix. But wow. They're only 2 parts behind now. Excited to see more JoJo.
Indeed.
And our last piece of news, which we're going to probably talk about for a little bit more than the other two, My Hero Academia Vigilantes, English dub, revealed their cast and crew in same-day release. In fact, it's already out. We've already watched it. Main character Koichi is voiced by Jack Broadbent, who appears to be pretty much a newcomer. The only other credit I could find for him anywhere was he was additional voices in Trillion Game. And from having listened to episode 1, he does amazing as our protagonist.
Indeed.
Knuckle Duster is voiced by Jason Marnoka. That is Gillen in Delicious in Dungeon, and notably, especially for you Toonami listeners, who I know I have some of you coming over from Toonami Faithful, Gonsaku Nanbu in the Megalobox. For those for Ark and anyone else who hasn't seen that, that's totally you're a bum, kid. He's the coach.
That fits.
It really does. And then Pop Step is voiced by Macy Ann Johnson. That's Shikamori herself, and Shikamori's not just a cutie. And Ordinary in Akudama Drive, which I need to finish. That's good cyberpunk anime.
Okay. Can always use more of that.
Absolutely. Well, since the both of us have seen it, I love it, but that's not surprising. I love Hero Academia to begin with. But Ark, this was your introduction. What do you think?
Perfectly competent shonen content. It's fine. I like Knuckle Duster, although I will say it's very much a case of yes, no.
Yeah, I agree on that one. One of the things that's really a strength of Hirokoshi, the mangaka, is that the characters all feel very real, and the world feels realistic. You'll notice this is a world that has, government superheroes. That's what Hero Academia is all about. But, they can't be everywhere all at once. So, of course, there's vigilantes that rise up to fill in the spots where they can't get to, because you can't be everywhere at once. No matter, you could be All Might. All Might is basically Superman, Captain America rolled into one. But you can't be everywhere at once. Even if you have a whole bunch of others, you still can't be everywhere all at once. So eventually, someone's going to, fill up that need. One of the great themes of Hero Academia is, are you a hero for the right reason? Are you there to be a hero to save the day, or are you there for the job, for the money? And there's a little bit of both in the pro hero business. So,
that's just a commentary on the intrinsic nature of law enforcement.
You can see where this is going. Hero Academia in general wears its love of American superheroes on its sleeve, and I can definitely still see that here. Tell me Knuckle Duster's not like an extreme version of Batman.
With no budget, yeah. It's not really. He's more like a less psychotic Punisher.
I can see that. I get off of him. But yeah, so far so good. We definitely enjoyed it.
Indeed.
Okay, well that brings us safely into our topic today. We're here to do the awards. So why don't we get started with the best character arc? And arcs, if we're doing arcs, why don't you go first?
Yes, as always. Okay, so my number 3 is Akane-san from possibly the greatest alchemist of all time, which, if you didn't remember, I had to look hither and yon to find her name, but she is the lady of the 3 high school students who is summoned as a quote-unquote hero in that show.
Character arc, I can totally see where you're getting at.
Yeah, so it's not so much the nature of the character arc, that's pretty generic, but the fairly realistic way it was portrayed in an otherwise kind of off-the-wall story, where she's, not only it takes her a bit to really cotton on, but also the way that she's very careful and cautious and sensible in the way she does it. I really like it.
That's a really good pick. My number 3 is because I've seen the whole show with the subtitles, so there's some of this you're not going to fully get, so I'm going to have to speak vaguely a little bit. But it's Togo Asagaki, also known as Kizuna Red, and of course Red Ranger's An Adventure in Another World. This guy! I mean, you've seen his backstory, so this guy went from the sad, mopey guy who lost his family to Kizuna Red. But there's more to that story that they get into towards the end that really show how far he's gotten and how much he's changed over this course of the story itself. Even this guy's, I mean, even from just what you've seen, Arc, he's gone from just I'm gonna transform and explode and oh, you're all on fire. Oops. He's kind of stopped doing that. I don't think he's got a huge character arc. That's why he's number 3, but he does have one that I really like.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, part of his whole character is that he's got, the one-track mind.
He does.
With the bonds thing.
But does he? Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Yeah, it seems almost like manic with him.
Now,
so it's like, it reminds me of, if anyone else remembers from GTA Vice City on the public radio station, the one guest who was, Miss Positivity because it turns out she's dosed up the eyeballs on tranquilizers and antidepressants.
Well, there's a lot more to Togo than that, and you'll find out.
Okay.
Well, somehow, and not actually all that surprising, our number 2s and number 1s are the same. So I'll let you do our number 2 pick, which is exactly the same person.
Yep, our number 2 pick is Miss Uka Ishimori of Honey Lemon Soda, our protagonist, really, I would say.
I love this lady. She's just amazing. She goes from, the quiet, bullied character who's trying to be more assertive to someone who's actually very assertive. She has to stand up to her own father at one point. And she does.
Well, she's learning how to be a woman instead of a girl, and that's hard.
Yeah, growing up is difficult for all of us. And that is basically what her story is in Honey Lemon Soda, is her growing up. And also, falling in love, but...
Yeah. Well, that's a part of it, but it's really a coming-of-age story in general, and very well done.
It's fantastic. I actually relate to her a lot, having been through a very similar childhood. I didn't quite have Kai in my life, but
yeah, much less so. But I definitely feel for her.
And her number one should absolutely surprise no one, given that how much we gushed over this show.
Mm-hmm.
It's not Skohiro Sei of Zenshu.
Yeah.
Wow.
Which is, again, the whole point of the show.
Absolutely. I mean, we talk about Uka growing up. Natsuko is growing up, but she's already an adult. Because here's the thing, you can grow old. Growing old does not mean you grow up. Growing up can happen at any age. And this is an adult who can't trust other people, overworks herself, is selfish, and she has to shake all that off, and she does.
Mm-hmm.
It's similar to Uka. A lot of that comes down to love.
Yep. And, yeah, it really is her coming-of-age story now that I think about it.
Yep, it is. It's
just very delayed, but
it's delayed, but it's absolutely
it happens.
There. Like I said, you can grow old, but doesn't mean you grow up.
Yeah.
She did grow up in the course of Zenshu, and I think that's
my becoming a full adult was delayed about 10 years from where it should have been. So
I'd say about the same for me.
Our generation, I think.
Well, yeah, that's a part of it for sure. But that is our character arcs. I suppose it's time for us to go on to the best soundtrack.
Okay. All right. So it's your turn to go first.
Well, my number 3 is Dragon Ball Daima, because holy cow, they really know how to be bombastic in that music, and it really elevates the show.
Fine choice. Fine choice. My thought for number 3 was equally bombastic, but in a very different way. In a very, gritty way, which is Solo Leveling. There's just something so hardcore about every aspect of this show that just
no question.
grabs me in places.
We were not hurting for good soundtracks in this season. Everything we listened to had a pretty good soundtrack, actually.
Right.
This is one of the harder ones for me to do.
I kind of hate this category because it's like, you don't, if it's doing its job right, you don't really notice the actual soundtrack while you're watching.
Mm-hmm. That's actually going perfect segue to my number 2, because it's one of those ones that I don't notice until I really think about it, and that's actually, for me, my number 2 is Apothecary Diaries, because that soundtrack is incredibly atmospheric, and you don't notice it until you go back and think about it. And the thing that cued me onto it is the one part I do notice, which is the next episode preview music gets stuck in my head all the time. And that's what made me start thinking about it and start looking at it going, oh, all of these are great, but they're not things that jump immediately into my head because they accentuate the scenes so well. It merges with everything. It does exactly that.
Fine choice. And my pick for that was Dr. Stone, which...
It also does that, actually. And come to think of it, that next episode preview music is also really good.
Mm-hmm.
But Dr. Stone also, I would say, does that job pretty well. I could totally see why you picked it. And we did it again. We picked the same number 1, and it's the same show again.
Yeah, you're gonna... this is kind of the...
This is gonna be a
sweeping
theme. This is going to be a theme.
Yeah.
Zenshu kind of owns this list. We've spoken highly of it for a reason.
Yeah, it's sweeping this season.
It happens.
Every
once
get it out of your system now. Yeah.
There's a show like this, and this one doesn't. And the soundtrack for Zenshu is really good. It merges well, but you can also listen to this one on its own as well. It's really good.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and now for the hardest category in the entire list for me, because there were several shows I wanted to list, but just I ran out of space, and I feel it's probably the same for you, and we have almost a completely different list except for our number 1.
Right.
And I'm glad for this, because 2 of the ones you picked I would have if I had more room.
Yeah, so also honorable mentions to for this to Honey Lemon Soda.
Yes! That was like the one I was like struggling to put in the most.
I don't know. a number of others. Also, Headhunted to Another World. I'm not a fan of like the song and stuff, but it really fits the show.
It does.
If that makes
the
sense.
Dungeon People intro was really good.
Oh yeah, I think they all were really.
They all were. The fact that I didn't put Dragon Ball Diamond's Jaka-John in here, which the only reason I was able to because I already have in a previous award ceremony, but Jaka-John's just oh gosh so good, but they all are. That's the problem.
Right. Yeah, less so, at least in my opinion, for endings. This
the more I thought about
was
that,
just straight fire.
The more I agree with you. The endings that we picked, which are
they were just fine for the most part, except for the three that we're going to talk about.
Yes, but the intros were almost all absolute fire. Well, why don't you? It is your turn. So why don't you tell us?
So my number 3, after much soul searching, was Enter, which is from A Rank Party, and it's because it kind of sneaks up on you, which I thought was very interesting. The way I describe it is low key epic.
Yeah, no, I think that's completely fair. And
it kind of fits the show because you think it's just going to be cutesy and yet another thing, and then it just kind of goes way harder than
it does. It really, really does. That intro, it's one that'll hang with you. That's one of the things that really works well for it in its favor.
Right.
My number 3. You want to talk about intros that make me just God, yeah! It's Cuz I, the intro to Red Ranger is an adventurer in another world. Oh my god. This intro. I almost jokingly put in the Kizuna 5 intro because that joke intro for the Kizuna 5 section of Red Ranger Isekai is also a bop. But it's not better than Cuz I. Cuz I just... It really fits what's going on, and it also, if you look at the lyrics, it fits the slow romance that goes on between Red and, oh god, what was her name? Idra. And, oh gosh, you can just feel the desperate fight going on in Red Ranger Isekai with that intro. I really, really enjoyed it.
So my number 2 was Reawake R from Solo Leveling. Not just for the song, but also, I mean, as you might expect with Solo Leveling, for the animation.
Oh, absolutely.
And speaking of which, before I forget, another honorable mention actually to the opening animations for Guild Receptionist, because just like the rest of it, it's as I'll talk about later. The animation is better than it has any right to be.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And Reawaker or Reawake R, however you want to pronounce it, it's probably my number 4. Because it's really, really, really good.
Yeah, I've been listening to it on repeat a lot. So.
No, I could totally understand why. I actually like it better than Season 1 intro, which says a lot. Because that Season 1 intro was also really good. But you know what I listened to
Judging by the lyrics, I think it was actually written for the show.
Oh yeah, so. I mean, they got Lisa to write it, and she's notorious for writing anime intros, specifically for the anime.
Oh, cool.
She's also famous for Sword Art Online.
Oh, okay.
Well, the one that I listened to, the second most on repeat is going to be our number 1 pick. But my second most is actually something that we use twice as endings because I'm a dum-dum. And that's Zen for Zenshu. We did it for the sampler, and then I forgot I did it in the sampler, and I used it again when we talked about Zenshu properly.
That's fine.
Oops. I should have come with the ending to Zenshu, but...
Yeah. It's so nice we used it twice.
Yes. Well, and you're talking about endings. That's the one ending that didn't quite fit in for my closing with Zenshu's ending, which is actually really good. That's probably the one that we didn't pick that I still say is fire for endings. But the intro for Zenshu, Zen, is easily the stronger of the two. And there was only one choice for the number 1 pick arc. This is sort of like when we both picked Katakura style for best ending a while ago because like there was nothing else that could top this. And that's in a season where everything is amazing. This one still tops everything.
Yeah. Casanova Posse from Dr. Stone's Science Future, which just
it won't let you down.
Yeah, it's just pure Golden Age Hollywood goodness. Oh, God, and honestly, it's just, I think that combined with the animation is just a pure victory lap.
The animation,
the studio.
That's another ending that actually could have been picked, was the one for Dr. Stone as well. That was also
alright this season.
But the intro definitely, again, is the stronger of the two, and goddamn, I know we're not the only ones that were taken by Casanova Posse, and holy shit, if you haven't, well, first of all, you're listening to it in the background as we talk about it, at least, unless YouTube says no. But, yeah, this one is a bop, and it really has good quality to it. This is the one I listen to on repeat repeatedly to max.
Also, yes.
Like, oh my gosh.
Yep.
Well, that's our intro, so of course up next is our best closings. Definitely not as competitive. We actually picked the same 3 shows, just in a slightly different order.
Yep.
But, as I said, there's a couple other ones that I think were also pretty good contenders, just not nearly... It's not like the whole list of shows like the intro was. Like, the competition for intro was strong. Here, not as much, but I suppose I should start with my number 3, which is your number 2. Mm-hmm. Good Luck to Me Tomorrow from Guild Receptionist. Oh, good God. You want?
I hated this at first.
But
it grew on me. Partly for the song, but also the animation.
Oh gosh, the animation is actually clever. Half the fun with the frickin' maracas. Oh my gosh.
Well, there's that, but also the riffs on different types of games and stuff. It's very original, at least to me.
Yeah, I can see that. It's very good stuff. I suppose you should talk about your number 3, which is my number 2.
A Wonderful World, the outro to Honey Lemon Soda, which goes a long way towards capturing the positive side of our high school memories.
Oh yeah. No, Wonderful World is a great ending song. I barely put it over Good Luck to Me Tomorrow because Good Luck to Me Tomorrow is a faster song, and it's got more of a tempo. It's a tapper. It's more energetic, but Wonderful World is more uplifting, and this is purely subjective on my part, but to me that was more valuable to me. Not that the other is not, but Wonderful World
I put Good Luck to Me Tomorrow at number 2 because of the animation.
I can see that. Wonderful World also has good animation, but it's not as detailed.
Yeah, it's more normal.
Beat. Well, no,
it's normal what you'd expect.
Wonderful World's animation is actually not what you'd expect. Neither of them are. Wonderful World does a rhythm game style animation where the animation is literally to the beat. They're moving their bodies back and forth to the beat.
I think you're mixing them up.
That's
no. Good Luck to Me Tomorrow. That's
Good Luck to Me Tomorrow bounces all over the place. Wonderful World has the kids making letters and symbols out of their bodies to the beat of the song.
Oh, I see what you mean. Okay, I'd forgotten that. All right.
So, yeah, now Good Luck to Me Tomorrow does have that as well, but it's bouncing all over the place. Wonderful World is more focused, but I guess they both do that. There you go.
Yeah, they are definitely both to the beat. But.
Of course, there is only one choice for number 1. There's no other option. Go ahead.
It's Apex from Solo Leveling. Just the song itself, the animation quality, the nature of the animation itself, which really captures what's happening to our protagonist, I think, in his...
Yep, it's a story to itself about what's happened to Jinwoo, because Jinwoo has changed considerably. And it's almost like there's 2 of him.
Right. Well, again, based on what certain parties have said, we have good cause to question what he is, not just in terms of his leveling thing, but is he even human?
Question.
Or has he was he born something else? Has he become something else? I mean,
These are good
Lord knows what's going on with his father. And so, and also it's the further up the pyramid you get, the lonelier it becomes.
Indeed. He
is the
solo
king.
leveling.
And he is the human king now, to borrow the bug's words.
yeah, I suppose he
I don't think anyone realizes it yet, including him, but
I don't think he wants to be the human king.
right, but
Well, he could be the strongest fighter, does not make him the king.
I know what you mean, but primal human instinct is to put the strongest person in charge in time.
That is a primal human instinct, but it is not necessarily always what we do. And if the strongest person says no, well, then we figure something else out.
Mm-hmm. Well, we'll see, but that's definitely the imagery.
Well, he's certainly the shadow monarch.
Mm-hmm. Anyway.
Well, the lists that exist because of you, because I would not be putting... These topics would not be one-side rank if not for you, but you wanted them, so here they are.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thanks. I had one friend I showed the last award ceremony to, like, I need to disown you because you have these categories. Like, I didn't want them. And, oh, okay. We're still friends then.
Yeah, this is anime. Come on.
But we have the best waifu.
All right, I think it's my turn to go first. So my number 3 is Miss Rose from Magic Maker, and obviously, as things stand in the show, she's too young for anything. But of the two ladies of the protagonist's life, she is just has a class and intelligence and elegance about her that makes me really look forward to see what she's like when she grows up.
I certainly almost picked her, but I didn't because she's too young.
Yeah, it's not so. I'm not so much picking her as she is now as picking the future her. And also because I ship her with our protagonist.
Okay. Well, my number three is Amaku Takao in Amaku MD Doctor Detective, purely because she's interesting. I would spend all night talking.
I didn't know you were a masochist, but go for it.
Tell me you wouldn't spend all night talking with her about mysteries. Tell me you wouldn't.
Maybe, but I wouldn't date her.
That would be a fantastic date. You go out and talk mysteries with her and learn things. She'd be interesting.
Okay.
I didn't put her at number 1. I put her at number 3.
Okay. Yeah.
Also, you didn't know I was a masochist? Do you know my normal waifu type?
Yeah,
which didn't quite make it into this. We didn't really get those.
Yeah, we didn't really have any, but
we had one, but she's barely there.
Yeah.
Well, what's your number 2, Ark?
My number 2 is Bella-sama from Dungeon People, because I just want to marry her and take care of her.
That's not a bad choice. My number 2 is the closest to my normal type, and that's Rania in Red Ranger's Adventure in Another World. She has trouble with her emotions, so she's using those masks, but she can be a tough girl when she needs to be. She's soft when she needs to be. And she's just got this huge sense of duty. I can get behind that.
A fine choice. She's a hell of a lady.
Absolutely.
Okay, and my number 1 is Miss Shaolan from the Apothecary Diaries, because she is just one of these people who is a joy to be around.
When I saw you pick that, I had to Google who that was. I'm like, oh, that's Mau Mau's friend. Yeah, yep. She's nice. She's
and what's funny is it's just like, oh God, what's her face from Laid Back Camp, whose name escapes me right now because I'm half dead. But It's, normally I would say I go for smarter girls, but, it turns out I just like nice people as well.
Nice people? How dare you like nice people?
Right? But, if you're picking somebody to spend the rest of your life with, somebody who just spreads joy by their very presence seems to be a good choice.
On that front, my number one waifu is someone I feel the same way about, and that's Uka Ishimori.
Oh god, imagining the two of you dating if you were the same age would be just...
The problem is that we're the same person.
Right. Oh god, you two would never get together. You'd be too shy to ask each other out.
It's someone would have to set us up.
Mm-hmm. And even then, I wouldn't put money on it.
I wouldn't either. But we're probably good friends.
Right.
But she's cute and adorable. Must protect.
Probably just have to. I'd probably wind up rigging a game of spin the bottle or something for you.
Oh my gosh.
Not sure how you do that, but I'm sure there's a way.
Well, that is our best waifu. So now it's time to turn that bottle up around for the best husbandos.
All right, your turn to go first.
And my number 3 is the man, the myth, the legend, Togo Asagaki, Red himself. That dude is pretty hunky.
True, but he's got the one thing that he won't shut the hell up about it. Do you really want to date that?
When that one thing
I've dated people who have like their one topic and it gets real old real fast.
When the one topic's about how basic proof that he's going to be loyal, yeah.
Well, yeah, it's a good choice on that thing, but it's just at least to me that
that's a flaw,
conversationally that gets.
It's a flaw. That's part of why he's at number 3. But he's all. Look at all the other things that he would do, though.
Yep.
You want a guy who will treat you right.
Yep. And he is hot.
He's hot and he treated you right. Like that. He's a little neurotic about bonds, but you know what?
A little, yeah.
I mean, that's not the worst flaw to have given the other strengths that he has.
I suppose.
What's your number 3 pick?
My number 3, so shout out to R Dragon, but I guess I like bad boys, or at least supposedly bad boys, because I picked Justice from Zenshu, who's got that bad boy edge to him. And, if I had any cachet with women at all, I would probably have that same attitude.
My number 2 pick. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, that's it.
Okay, well, my number 2 pick is also from Zenshu, but it's Luke Braveheart. Because, again, you want a hunky good dude who's super loyal, who can cook for you.
That is a very good point. I hadn't thought about that.
It's Luke Braveheart. The downside is if you get hurt, he's gonna go ham. Don't let yourself get hurt. But
a lot of guys are like that.
He's incredibly protected, but good man. Very good man.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's funny because for my number 2, I had much the same reasoning when I picked Yuke-san from A-Rank Party. Because, again, he can cook, he's handsome, he's very, very sweet, very caring, and one of those girls that better actually snap him up sooner or later or I'm going to get annoyed. Because I hate the whole,
Well, it is continuing into the next season, so it could still
right.
happen.
But I just hate the whole keeping the sexless harem up in the air. Yeah, I mean if the guy has multiple partners and it's done well, that's fine. If there's a lot of ladies around, but you pick one, that's fine. But just nobody ever getting with anybody and keeping it up in the air past where it's funny, that's boring.
Well, my number 1 husbando goes to Kai for Honey Lemon Soda because, dear God, he looks amazing. He can be vulnerable when he needs to be, but he's also always there for people. And not just Uka, of course for Uka. This is also kind of pairing him with Uka at my number 1 waifu. I'm kind of taking a page out of your book.
They are an excellent couple.
But he's You want to talk about one of the most stand-up guys, but yet he also has that bad boy feel. I mean, come on.
I guess he's not really that much of a bad boy. It's
He's
just
not,
that he dyed his hair, and he's bad
not
with
a
words.
bad boy in
he doesn't really
acting.
give a fuck. Yeah, the closest
that's
he gets
the
to that
thing.
is he does not give a fuck.
That's the thing. He's got the look of a bad boy. He's got the air and aura of a bad boy, but he's not a bad boy. He's got all the parts of a bad boy you want, and none of the parts of a bad boy you don't. He is the complete package.
Fair enough. Well, my number one, Husbando, this is kind of a meta joke on my part. Suo from the time I attended an all-guys mixer, which that show didn't really land with me, but I love this character because, and this is somebody, because, for anyone who doesn't remember, this is about three pretty normal college guys who wind up dating three college girls who also cross-dress at a drag king bar, a host bar. And so Suo is the prince character, and he has a great elegance and air to her, but she just loves messing with her. I cannot remember his name, the guy she pairs off with. But here's the thing: I want to, at my age, I'm like a few months away from hitting 40. I want to date this college girl just because I would love her attempts to mess with me, and I would mess with her right back, and we would have so much fun. Whether she'd want to be with me long term, I don't know, and I don't even care. But that would be so much fun. Because I'd be like, okay, do I have both a boyfriend and a girlfriend? I'd ask her, how do we want to play this in public? Because, I have no problem with people thinking I've got both a boyfriend and a girlfriend just fucking with people. That would be great.
Yeah, no, I could see that. Well, that's our husbandos, and now it's time for a very similar and yet different question. Who's the biggest Chad? Ark, I believe it's your turn, so who's your third biggest Chad?
My third biggest Chad is Rangado from Dungeon People, who is the dwarf who kind of keeps the dungeon running. And because he is kind of not only is he very good at his job, he's basically a father/uncle figure to both Bella and what's her face, the protagonist. And he's just
tell you at this point.
I forget, but he's very sweet.
Well, all right. My number 3 biggest Chad is Jade Scrade from I May Be a Guild Receptionist, but also any boss to clock out in time, because he will actually help her clock out on time by this man will fight in the dungeon. It works to be a good hero, works his ass off for a great party, and yet he will also try to help clean up the paperwork because he cares that much about the person working overtime. Tell me that's not a Chad moment.
Oh yeah, that's commitment right there. All right. Well, my number 2 is Mr. Luke Braveheart of Zenshu for all the aforementioned reasons.
Luke is an excellent choice. I also have a Zenshu choice, but it's not actually Luke Braveheart. I thought about him. I ended up putting him on the Husbando list instead because Luke Braveheart does have that whole thing at the end where I kind of go, But
I understand, but yeah.
Oh, I understand where he's coming from. I totally feel it. But that kind of keeps him off my Chad list, at least in the top 3. He's still a Chad. But you know who my top Chad of Zenshu is? It's Yunio.
Excellent choice.
Yunio will put aside the fact that he hates Natsuko Hirose. He'll put that completely aside to help her so that they can help Luke Braveheart together, because Yunio is the king of the bros.
Mm-hmm.
Not just anyone can do that.
Yeah, and also he's like, even though I think this girl is bad for my bro, she's the one he wants, so
Yep.
I'll help.
Well, and he knows she's who he needs. because he knows he needs her to get out of what he's turning into.
Fair enough.
Well, we did it again. We picked number one as the same. Art, go ahead. Who is our biggest Chad?
Mr. Kai of Honey Lemon Soda.
I usually try to mix up my Husbandos and Chads. I couldn't do it with Kai. He kind of owns both for me.
Mm-hmm.
For all the reasons we've gone into. I don't know what else I could say about him that we didn't already. And now for the hardest for a different reason category. Funniest show. We didn't really have any straight up comedies in this season, so this was a little. We had a couple, I guess.
I think, Dungeon People and Guild Receptionists definitely qualify. I think as
I would also say Loner
primarily
Life.
comedies. Yes, also that too.
But my number 3 funniest show is actually Dragon Ball Daima, and this comes down to 2 things. Goku being an absolute moron, and Goma being an absolute moron, and pointing and laughing at the both of them.
Fair enough.
So, Ark, what's your number 3 favorite funniest show?
My third funniest show of the season was Amiku MD. Both because of the antics themselves, and also because I can actually see all of it actually happening in real life.
I could see
It's just barely plausible enough.
Amaku's kind of a little gremlin herself, so I could totally see it.
But I met people like that is the thing, and I could, especially a doctor from a privileged background, I could totally see her getting away with this.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, the only thing I think is unrealistic in that show, like flat out unrealistic, is her little house on the rooftop just because of building codes.
Japan.
Yeah, it's more the form of the structure itself. Now, I could see her, having a suite on the top floor of the hospital that she's decorated like that. But details.
Well, my number 2 pick is Loner Life in Another World, and this all comes down to our protagonist just being absolutely hilarious. He's constantly he just wants to be alone, and yet he can't help but get himself involved.
Mood.
It is a mood. And I want to be alone. Makes a mansion.
Yeah, well, I mean, who doesn't want to live in comfort?
And more than comfort, it is like a 27-room house. That's more than comfort. That's I want company.
I play Valheim with you. You have no room to throw shade for that.
We'll see. I don't.
This man builds whole sprawling manor houses full of guest rooms.
Do you know why I do it though? At least the first time I did it. Because I wanted a place for everybody to stay.
Alright then.
And that's what I'm calling him out for. It's like, you don't build that for no reason. You build that because you want people to stay, at least subconsciously.
Okay then.
Well, Ark, what's your number 2?
My number 2 is, I may be a guild receptionist, but I'll solo any boss to clock out on time.
Well, that's pretty funny
because
that's my number 1.
Right. It does kind of have mostly the one joke, but it is a good joke.
It is mostly the one joke, but it's a good joke. It can get serious when it wants to, but the other things that it does, the characters are endlessly hilarious.
There's that.
They constantly make you laugh. And yeah, the one joke is the overtime. They do find ways to mix it up though.
Right.
We add an assistant, and then we add Jade helping out, and yet it's still not enough. We promise to hire more, and then we joke on that. Oh, you didn't hire more! I don't care that you became an evil monster. You didn't hire more receptionists like you said you... Oh my god. Yeah. The show is so beautifully stupid.
But the fact that it is just the one joke, to my mind, puts it at number 2 instead of my number 1, which is Dungeon People, because that show, something about it just cracked me the hell up.
Dungeon People was funny, but it was kind of mildly funny. It's probably my number 4.
Yeah, I think that's just down to our different senses of humor. I found it incredibly funny. Because it does have just kind of a very what's the word for where you're it's very straight faced humor. But it's ridiculous. But also combined with, within the bounds of its bonkersness, it actually makes a whole lot of sense, is the other part I love.
Well,
so it's all these things together.
The thing about Dungeon People for me, when I think about it, it is a little funny, and it can be funny. The thing that it hit me, if we had a category for cutest anime, it would win that, hands down. Like, it is the most adorable anime I think I've seen in a while.
There is that as well. But, yeah, I personally just found it hilarious.
And there's no, I mean, there's a reason we do two separate lists. Our tastes are different, although there are some times where they line up.
Indeed.
Okay, well, Ark, I believe it is your turn for Best Action. So what is your third Best Action show?
My number 3 is Zenshu.
Probably my number 4, because holy shit, Zenshu.
Yep. Indeed. And your number 3 is?
My number 3 is not Zenshu. Zenshu didn't quite make my list. It's probably number 4. But Dragon Ball Daima, because Dragon Ball.
Yep, definitely my number 4.
Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta, just wow. Goku fighting the Tamagami, wow. The show is bonkers 90% of the time, but when it does fights, holy crap, and you haven't seen it yet, but the final fight is some Dragon Ball Z shit. But without the Dragon Ball Z length. It's perfect.
Okay, then. Alright, and speaking of our tastes lining up, we happen to agree on both number 2 and 1 this season.
I'll go ahead and do number 2. I guess I'll do number 1.
Okay, number 2 is The Red Ranger Becomes an Adventurer in Another World, because it commits to both the fantasy and the Sentai aesthetics, and somehow manages to marry them very convincingly.
Somebody was a huge fan of Super Sentai and fantasy, and knew what to do for both, and it's beautiful. Red Ranger Isekai is short term I use at this point, because Red Ranger Becomes an Adventure in Another World is just a long title. It just knows how to hit the ground running. The action is top notch. In any other season, this would be the number 1, but there's something else that's kind of a little bit better. And by a little bit, I mean a lot better, because it's solo leveling, and that comes down to budget, I think. Because solo leveling is just gorgeous with its action.
Yeah. It's also the subject matter is just brutal.
Oh yeah, no, Red Ranger Isekai is goofy action, but I mean it's serious. It's kids action show. Solo leveling is like your adult action flick.
It is one step down from Berserk in terms of its brutality.
Yeah, pretty much. I think that's a fair statement there. Well, paralleling this action, because the two tend to kind of overlap to a degree.
Yeah.
It's best animation.
Yeah. Alright. So I think it's your turn to go first.
Alright. Well, my number 3 best animation will go to Dragon Ball Daima, because holy crap, that fluid animation in Dragon Ball Daima.
Indeed, and that's definitely an honorable mention from me. But my number 3 is actually Guild Receptionist, because, again, the animation is way too smooth and fluid for, a fairly run-of-the-mill show in terms of content. Just the animators went way above and beyond.
I feel like the intro and ending for Guild Receptionist are really good, well animated. The show itself is not badly animated, but I just didn't feel like the show itself excelled. It didn't.
Yeah, it's subtle. It's subtle, but yeah, I do think it's very slightly above. But it's mostly it feels like they went the extra mile beyond what I would have expected. So that's just my impression.
I mean, that's fair. That is definitely one where I kind of tilted my head and went, really? That one? I could see several other ones. That one, I just didn't get that feel from it. But, I mean, to each their own.
I don't know.
Well, we crisscrossed each other again.
We do that.
We do. My number 2 is your number 1, which is Solo Leveling, because holy goddamn shit, we just got done talking about that action. That animation, yo.
Yeah, and also even the non-action as well. Just
Oh yes,
the subtleties of the subtleties of the characters, the way they emote, and so forth. There's a lot of work put into that.
Absolutely, no. Solo Leveling is a gorgeous show to watch. But there was one show that I felt was better, and for you, it's slightly lesser. Although honestly, I could totally see crisscrossing on this one, and of course, it's Zenshu. For me, Zenshu tops it because it emotes better. Solo Leveling does crazy ham action, but so does Zenshu. Solo Leveling's action's a little more realistic, but Zenshu also touches on the emotions on the characters, and I feel that's where it does better than Solo Leveling. Not Solo Leveling does badly there.
Fair enough.
But that's, that's why
it's definitely more subtle in Solo Leveling because a lot of the people involved are very stoic.
Yes. Yes, I would agree with you there. Zenshu also can be a lot funnier with its animation. There's a lot of silly moments with Natsuko and Yunio, and
it's definitely more fantastical.
Oh, absolutely, and I think that's probably part of why I put it above. But I mean, they're both really, really, really
fair enough.
Like I could totally see either way here.
So I've noticed you tend to more be drawn to the more extraordinary and fantastic, whereas I like when real life and especially the feel more than the actuality of real life is captured very, very well. So again, this comes down to our own
taste. And yes, I definitely prefer the fantastic because that's what I go for animation for. If I want something to capture real life, we have this thing called live action for that.
I actually prefer animation to live action.
I mean, I do too,
you can do exactly what you want.
I do too, for that exact reason, but that's why I like it when it does a fantastical, because you could do exactly what you want with that. Whereas if you want it to just be realistic, live action pretty much does that.
Right. I guess. There's also the fact that due to my Asperger's, I find I can actually understand people's emotions and stuff, even when they're very subtle in animation.
I'm in the same boat as
whereas with real actors, they're doing an amazing job, but just like real people, it goes over my head for the most part.
I get that.
Because they are real people.
A fun story on that front for me and my family. My family used to believe when I was really little that I couldn't read emotions like at all. And then when I was like 12 or 13, I started drawing my little comic books that were for Laser Kid. That's where my name comes from. And I'd have the characters emote, but they were over-exaggerated emotions. And my folks like, oh, he does understand. So, yeah, I can totally see where you're coming from there.
Yep.
Autism powers unite.
Indeed.
Well, I suppose that's a good enough segue to you're going to get to the best drama.
Indeed. So, whose turn is it to go first?
I think it's you.
It matters this time. Okay, so my number 3 is the Apothecary Diaries, because that whole saga is just
Apothecary Diaries incredible. Is so good. It's my number 2 pick. I totally understand why you'd pick it.
Yeah, it's number 3 for me compared to the other 2, just because I've heaped praise on it in previous seasons.
I have to, but I put it a little bit higher just because of the impact it has. But I totally understand why you do that. Well, my number 3 is your number 2. It's Honey Lemon Soda.
Yeah, just.
If a romance story can grab me that much, because I am not generally into romance anime, there are exceptions.
Well, the romance isn't the sole focus, I think, is what makes it good for
women. I mean, I've enjoyed romance in other cases, like, Shikamori's Not Just a Cutie, Ice Guy. I have enjoyed them before.
But I think I said this earlier, but I would argue that Honey Lemon Soda is really just a coming-of-age story that happens to involve a romance.
I think that's fair. I think that's absolutely fair. But the drama is incredible for Honey
Lemon Soda.
I absolutely agree. A placement difference for me, I guess, comes down to the difference is the Apothecary Diaries is intrigue, and whereas Honey Lemon Soda is development. And the intrigue keeps me week to week on my edge of my seat. Whereas Honey Lemon Soda is great while I'm watching it, but I'm not like on the edge of my seat waiting for the next episode going, oh god, what's going to happen next? Whereas Apothecary Nights, that's exactly what I'm doing.
Fair enough.
Well, Ark, why don't you tell them what is our number 1 pick?
Surprising absolutely nobody at this point who's been paying attention. Our number 1 is Zenshu.
For all the aforementioned reasons. We did a whole episode on it, and we talked about it in our sampler pick. Yeah, Zenshu is just amazing. Go watch it if you somehow haven't at this point.
Yeah. We command you.
We order it! You have been commanded by the Order of the Simuldub Saints. There you go. Well, our next topic, of course, is Best Protagonist. So, Ark, why don't you tell us your number 3 pick?
My number 3 is, I believe, your number 1, Natsuko Hirose of Zenshu.
For all the reasons we've talked about.
Mm-hmm.
Well, my number 3 is hilariously your number 2.
Indeed.
And that's Shion from Magic Maker. We have not gotten to talk as much about Magic Maker as I would have liked because the season is that packed. But Magic Maker is really good, and Shion is such a good lead character. He is a character that really you get to root for. And he's got a fun mystery behind him of what is he exactly. That pays off beautifully.
Yeah, there's also just one other thing that I want to shout out. It doesn't fit in any other category, but just to, I guess this is more on the light novels than the anime, but both, is the originality of the magic system in Magic Maker.
It's incredibly unique. Which, I mean, I guess you could say about the anime too, because it's an adaptation of the books, but I mean, it's still original.
But still, I did want to specifically shout that out. That's really what makes the whole show stand out for me.
It does. The originality is absolutely what makes that stand out. Well, that's your number 2.
Well, what's your number 2? Yep, so what's yours?
My number 2 is Denosuke Uchimura, Headhunted to Another World, because this guy, this bro, just constantly proves how awesome he is when he tries to solve all these problems for an atom. I gotta love that.
Yeah, I find after a certain point, the whole, crippling self-esteem thing, it's like, dude, come on, wake up already. But I think that more says more about my lack of empathy in certain cases than anything else.
Yeah, I find it, as I share similar issues in terms of self-confidence, I find it kind of relatable.
Fair enough.
And I enjoy watching him overcome that. Well, you already know my number 1 because it was your number 3. So, Archangel, what's your best protagonist?
My best protagonist is Dr. Amaku of Amaku MD, because she is a brilliant fusion of traits and tropes taken from various other places, but put together into a fairly original and wholly believable character.
Oh yeah, no, she's really good. She's probably my number 4.
Yeah, she's also just fun to watch.
She is absolutely fun to watch. I cannot deny that. She made my waifu list for that very reason.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, we talked about the protags. What about our antags? Best antagonist. Well, my number 3 is your number 1, Ark. And I don't blame you, because we had a lot of great protagonists this season. I actually had a hard time thinking of antagonists for this season that I really connected to. But Goma from Dragon Ball Daima is definitely one of them, because he's so beautifully hilarious.
Indeed.
And I can see the difference on there. For me, he's just he doesn't. He can be threatening in his own way, like he's got like a tight grip over the demon world. But he's just he's too much of an Emperor Pilaf for me to really raise him higher. But he's a good job at being that.
The reason he's my number 1 is because I really feel for him. So I don't think we've ever mentioned this on the show, but I do actually have a personal motto, which is ego circumventus abstultis, which means I am surrounded by idiots. Which is how I feel about most people in society generally. They're precious exceptions like Laser Kid here.
Oh, thanks.
But yeah, and so but just like me, Goma is kind of an idiot when you get down to it. But he's trying. He really, within his capability, he is trying. And I just, that expression of his when he's just, is like, what? It's like, is this seriously the best I can find? It's like that expression of his is really...
It's classic. I love it.
I feel that in my soul.
Fair enough. Well, Ark, what's your number 3 pick?
My number 3 is Tanaka, who's, I guess, ultimately the main antagonist of at least this season of Loner Life in Another World.
That's an excellent choice.
Because he is now very, very dead. But yeah, because he's just very hateable.
Shout out to Adam Gibbs again.
Oh yeah.
Take a sip.
Yeah, take a shot. Yeah, that's a Simuldub Saints drinking game. Oh god, yeah. Take a sip every time we cross over. Take a shot every time we mention Adam Gibbs in a new context every episode. We don't want to kill you guys.
Well, I guess it's time for my number 2, which is might have made my waifu list if we knew more about her, but Princess Elizabeth, the Princess of the Evil Empire or the Empire.
Very good choice.
In possibly the world's greatest alchemist, because holy shit, she is sinister as fuck. The fact that she has done almost nothing, and yet I'm terrified of her, says so much.
Oh yeah.
And your number 2 is also an
priority target right there. Yeah, which is Dr. X.
Dr. Zeno himself.
Yeah, Zeno, of Dr. Stone, Science Future, because this man, his ideology is stupid, but leaving that aside, he has his shit wired to perfection. He knows exactly what he wants to do. He's perfectly realistic, and he does not fuck around. I really value that in any character.
I'd say Dr. Stone does that with its antagonists pretty commonly. I mean, Tsukasa was the same way when back in the Stone War. Although we had some guys in a previous season that weren't the crazy cult leader dude who was taking the place of the village chief.
Right. He was too high on his own supply to really be effective. But Dr. X is truly dangerous, and that's what makes him compelling.
Absolutely.
Because he has a perfectly realistic assessment of his own capabilities and limitations is what makes him really dangerous. And he's not too proud to back off if he's losing.
Indeed. Well, we already know your number 1, of course, is Goma. My number 1 is there's several ways I could put this. I could say it's the ultimate void in Zenshu, but it's not really the ultimate void itself. More of that inevitability, the fate of it, the ending of the tale of perishing where everything gets wiped out. This hangs as a sword of Damocles over the whole show. And it is ultimately the antagonist, the antagonistic force that has to be defeated in Zenshu. I almost put the idiot townsfolk in Zenshu, but I guess it kind of wraps into the same thing, really.
I would categorize that as human nature, which is really one of the ultimate antagonists of existence.
Yes, the inevitability, because humans are stupid, that leads to this world getting destroyed. That's kind of what I'm trying to speak to. You could also clue in that cult as a part of this. I don't really know how to phrase this because it's all one big thing.
Yeah. Well, in terms of like the human nature thing, I would just I would sum that up meanwhile as this is why we can't have nice things.
This is why we can't have nice things. It's the antagonist.
But in terms of well, there's that. But I think really more what you're driving at is rage against the dying of the light.
Yes.
Which is a large part of what Zenshu is about.
Absolutely. It is that destruction that seems inevitable. Mm-hmm. And to some degree it was.
Well, it's just what the the Texas Rangers learned way back in the day, no matter what happens, keep fighting. Also the US Marines and stuff, it's you're not defeated until you're either physically killed or until you give up.
It's true. But to me, that is the best antagonistic force. I feel almost like I'm cheating, but it really does. It's not a person exactly. I almost put the voids, but the voids aren't that threatening. But they're the
expression of it rather than the actuality of it.
But it's that destruction.
They're really a giant. Yeah, they're a giant metaphor.
Oh yeah. I mean, straight down to Luke Braveheart saying, "I have nothing. I am nothing. There is nothing." Before turning into the ultimate void. That's what they are. I was mentioning in the Zenshu episode that they weren't quite sentient, but they are sapient. The voids are sapient enough to act. It is sapient entropy. That's something I wanted to clarify on that episode. Now I'm doing it here. But
also see it as an indictment of nihilism.
Yes, which probably why I like
that just occurred to me.
I hadn't thought of it, but you're right, and that's probably why I love Zenshu so much, because I am not a fan of nihilism. That explains a lot of why it just hit me as strong as it did. Well, that's our antagonists. It's time for our best vocal performance. Ark, why don't you start us off?
Okay, so my number 3 is Mr. Aaron Campbell, who played Majin Du in Dragon Ball Daima.
Excellent choice.
The reason I had to put him somewhere in here is for his, and again, Aaron, feel free to correct me if I'm wrong here, but I see his whole performance as basically a giant homage to the late great Curly Howard. Of the Three Stooges, and it's absolutely perfect for this character.
Majin Du
does a pretty good job with the noises, and speaking as a kid who grew up on the Three Stooges, doing curly noises properly is not easy.
Agreed. Shout out in my place to the entire cast of Dragon Ball Daima, because all of the kid voices are unique voice actors. They are not the typical voice actors for those characters, with the exception, of course, of Goku, who is a grand return for the original Kid Goku voice back in the day.
Yeah, so shout out to her.
Absolutely.
She apparently has not missed a beat.
No, not at all.
I think we said before.
I would have given her an award, but I did.
Yep.
My number 3
who's your number 3?
Is Madeline Morris from Natsuko Hirose, because holy shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's more Zenshu. I don't know what else to say there. Well, your number 2 is my number 1.
Yeah, which is Monica Flatley for Uka Ishimori in Honey Lemon Soda, because
the range.
The
emotional range of that character. Staying in that voice and yet being able to go all over the emotional spectrum. God damn.
Yeah. And it's also one of these things like for Jack Stansbury in Oshinoko. I think parts of that performance had to have cost or something. I hope not, but it feels like it.
I could see that, but thank you, because it's amazing.
Yeah, if so, thank you. Not leave it if not, thank you. But
yes, absolutely.
But yeah, I am not an actor, so
I've done amateur voice work, but it's not the same thing.
No.
My number 2 goes to Ethan Condon for Togo Asagaki Red in Red Isekai, because committing that hard to that role cannot have been easy. I said when I first watched the subtitle that the English voice was going to have a hard time matching that Japanese voice, but he does. Beat for beat, he has got Super Sentai Power Ranger running in his veins, screaming out about bonds in a believable and infectious way.
Yep.
Damn, dude, you nailed it.
Indeed. And actually, that's funnily enough, that's very similar to why I chose Jill Harris for her performance as Alina Clover in Guild Receptionist. For my number 1 is because, again, very much the same way, she commits to what could have been just kind of it could have. How do I put this? It could have been. It could have gotten very old very fast, but she just. Alita has a one-track mind, and she conveys that where she never gets bored.
Her vocal performance is also very
up.
humorous when it needs to be and serious when it needs to be.
Right. But it's very believable, and what could have been a very kind of stupid characterization turned out quite surprisingly believable and touching.
The inflections when she's so mad are so just believable.
Right.
Excellent choice. That's probably my.
I really hope. Yeah, Jill, I really hope you didn't blow your voice out doing that.
Right back to Ethan Condon for Togo Asagaki, because I could believe either one of them did. Honestly,
Fair.
Monica Flatley for Uka also may have. Like, honestly, across the board here.
One or two scenes, but Alina does a lot of screaming.
Alina does so much screaming, as does Togo. The screaming is real this season, and
yeah, I don't know much about voice acting, but I do know about projecting your voice, and I know how easy it is to blow your voice.
I know enough to know that there is a way to yell when you're voice acting to not hurt your throat, and that is not the typical way you... The way people naturally yell is not it. That's how you hurt your voice. Okay. So there is a way to do it.
Yeah, I mean...
I couldn't tell you that way, but I know there is one.
Okay, so yeah, I know how to project and be loud, like to actually be heard, like in a room or a public area.
Not quite the same.
And that TLDR, you got to get it from deep, from the diaphragm. A and B. If you're going to be doing it a lot, do like musician style warm up exercises.
Yeah, well, it might be that, but
it really does help.
It might be that plus the emotion of it, because you can't just be loud for this to work. You got to have that emotion, Gary.
Yep.
Well, that's our best vocal performances, and that leads us on to the best art direction. My number 3 has to go to Dragon Ball Daima, because the pretty.
Fair.
The absolute pretty. The demon world. That is why I'm giving it to it. It's the demon world. Feels so alien and yet alive. Feels like a believable ecosystem. And that is absolutely down to that art direction, which, I mean, it's Kira Toriyama, at least styled art, even if he didn't draw the whole thing. In fact, he didn't draw most of it, but damn. It feels like Dragon Ball, but
how many generations? Yeah, but how many generations have grown up copying his art style now?
No, it's authentic. And it is the last thing that he was involved in at all. So, Dragon Ball Daima, man, they nailed it.
Excellent. And my number 3, strangely enough, goes to Dungeon People, just for the originality of the design.
Very, very unique art design. I can absolutely see that.
Yeah. The most salient example would be the little golems, who are like the minions, but they don't make me want to murder things. And also, there's an element of minimalism to it that I find very interesting.
I can see that. Well, we did it again. Our number 2 and number 1 are the same.
Okay.
So our number 2 pick is the Apothecary Diaries, which should not surprise anyone.
Yeah.
It's
just for capturing that
Imperial China
aesthetic. Yeah, it more like what we think it was.
Yes.
I don't know how that stacks up to the real thing, but
but it captures the emotional zeitgeist of how we feel about that so well.
Yeah.
And our number 1 should surprise absolutely no one.
Yeah, Zenshu, which is just basically an art house piece.
So, like, it's Studio Mappa. They know what they're doing.
Oh yeah.
For those that don't know Studio Mappa, for some reason, Chainsaw Man, y'all.
Yep.
All right, one of my favorite additions to our list a while back, and last before we go into the best of the season, is the biggest dumbass arc.
Oh goodness.
Who's your third favorite biggest dumbass?
Same as yours, Son Goku.
I couldn't resist putting Goku on the list. This may be the only chance we get.
And it is an evergreen choice for this category.
This almost sort of like when I gave Chad the biggest Chad in third place. This is almost a lifetime achievement award. But much, also, even just for Dragon Ball Daima, Goku, why'd you do the things you do? Oh, Goku. Well,
because dropped on head as baby, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, probably.
Repeatedly, most likely.
At least there's the big one that we absolutely know about.
Yeah.
So
it explains so much.
It really, I mean, it turned from violent psychopathic Saiyan to normal person-ish.
Yeah.
But mental impairment definitely came with. Well, Ark, who's your number 2 pick?
So my number 2 is apparently now Dr. Taiju Oki from Dr. Stone.
Taiju is an excellent choice.
Who's like the ultimate weaponized dumbass.
Yeah, he kind of is. He's a beautiful dumbass.
But mostly for the whole, Dr. Taiju thing.
Yes, I'm Dr. Taiju!
He tried so hard!
He really, really did! Oh, Taiju.
And then, it worked long enough. I will say that. I'm astonished. That's the funny thing, is it kind of worked.
Yeah. Now, my number 2 is actually your number 1. And it's Logi from the Red Rangers, an adventurer in another world. This dude sabotages his own effort because of jealousy.
Yeah. It's like, dude, if you're all about your lady, then fucking listen to her for once.
Oh my god! And this happens over and over and over and over and over.
Speaking of brain damage, yeah.
Yeah,
inability to learn.
Now he does eventually get it.
Yeah.
Although he's stubborn about it once he does get it, but
yeah.
Logi, my dude, my buddy. No. He earned it, sort of like someone else earned this by screaming espionage while going out of events. He earned this by, I'm going to sabotage Red, which is totally not going to backfire and destroy our own plans. Oh, wait, it did? Oh, oops. I almost put Togo on here, because Togo took that as, oh, you wanted to transform too, huh? I almost put Red on here, but Logi is just that much dumber.
Yeah, Red's not as dumb as he acts.
No, he's not. He's actually really, really not. My number 1 is a little bit different than yours, though. I mean, it's Logi, which I totally respect. But mine goes to Natsuko Hirose. Because, learn to communicate, woman! Well, she does. She does. But, she could explain so much more and better and prevented some things that happened if she just communicated with people better. But she doesn't. She doesn't know how. And that is why she is my biggest dumbass of the season, as much as I love her. And I will say a lot of that is mitigated by the end of the show because she does grow and become better. But some of it doesn't because, she's still a human.
Okay.
And now it brings us to the end, to the top 10 of the best of the season. And I want to say, I couldn't include all the shows I liked. I don't think there was a single show we watched that I didn't like this season. And even some of the ones that we didn't watch, I can't say were bad, just not to my liking.
Right.
It was a good, solid season. If it wasn't for the fact that this was the winter season, I'd say that the season was on fire. But, I mean, it's winter, so I guess maybe a cold flame. I don't know, but this is one of the best seasons we've had. As you often say, Ark, we're in a golden age of anime.
We are.
There was a lot, and we are. And there was stuff that we didn't watch that I know were good. Arifureta, Season 3, Blue Exorcist, The Blue Knight, which Kerr and I will talk about at soon. We just talked about the season before that. We're going to come back and finish that. There was other cool stuff out there that may or may not have been to our interest that we just couldn't get to. I enjoyed several sub-only shows. Shout out to I'm a Noble on the Brink of Ruin, so I might as well try to Mastering Magic and also Promise of Wizard. Both of those were amazing to me, and they just don't have dubs. I would say, why didn't you dub this? But I mean, another isekai not getting dubbed. There's so many isekai dubs, they had to pick and choose, I guess. The Shangri-La Frontier, which we didn't watch. ReZero, which I did watch with J-Mac, but I didn't get to watch the dub because he won't wait for it. There's a lot of good shows this season. So, shout out to the entire season. Even Anyway I'm Falling in Love with You, which we didn't keep watching. We watched the first episode. It was competent, just not something I'd go into. So, if your favorite show didn't make it on here, that does not mean we didn't like it. It means we didn't see it, probably. But we even the ones
we have never claimed to be objective.
No, we are not. We are not. This is our favorites. And even all the stuff we did see and like, I couldn't list them all because it's only 10. We watched more than that. Well, Ark, I believe it is your turn to go first.
Okay, so my number 10 is Honey Lemon Soda.
Honey Lemon Soda is very, very good. That will be much further ahead on my list, but it is a very good show. I loved it.
Mm-hmm.
My number 10, I didn't really give it much in terms of awards outside of Protagonist, but Head On It to Another World from Sour Man to Big 4, I had to shout it out. It was a lot of fun.
It is a very good show. Yeah, it didn't excel past a lot of its competitors, but that's not a knock on it. It's just
there's just so much out there.
Hyper-competitive environment.
Yes, that is the season in a nutshell.
All right, so my number 9 is Guild Receptionist.
That is also on my list. It's just a little bit further up. My number 9 is Dr. Stone, Science Future.
Well, funnily enough, that's my number 8.
Yeah, it's kind of funny how that worked. Dr. Stone, I always like Dr. Stone. You gotta enjoy the fact that it's a good story with good drama, cool action, and it also teaches you things.
It is something very special.
It is. It also connected pretty heavily to my connection to Toonami Faithful. I've gone into that story a number of times, so I won't waste your whole time here on it, but Dr. Stone has a lot of sentimental value to me as well. My number 8, though, is Magic Maker, How to Make Magic in Another World.
And that, coincidentally enough, was my number 7.
Funny how that lines up sometimes. Yep. My number 7 is Dragon Ball Daima, because, it's me, it's Dragon Ball, it's really good.
Mm-hmm.
It's really good, Dragon Ball. The fact that this is a Dragon Ball show that is one of the best Dragon Ball shows I've ever seen, and it's not, like, in the top 3, that should tell you how strong the competition is this season.
Yep, and even though it didn't make my top 10, it's a Dragon Ball show that actually has my attention again, so...
Indeed. I showed you Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z back in the day when we lived together.
Mm-hmm.
You have not seen a lick of Super.
Nope.
Oh.
Nor a GT, nor anything past that.
I purposely kept you from GT.
Right. Well, yes, but, I'm just saying. But yeah, this is very much a return to the feel of the original Dragon Ball, which I find more enjoyable. So.
As do I, actually. The original is why I love the whole thing. Ark, what's your number 6?
My number 6 is Dungeon People.
Excellent choice. That one didn't quite make my list, but I actually really did enjoy Dungeon People.
Oh, yeah.
Well, my number 6 is I may be a guild receptionist, but I'll solo any boss to clock out on time. Like I said, it's further up on my list. I'm surprised that I like that one better than you did. Because you seem to enjoy it more than I did, but there it is.
Yeah, it's just balanced against everything else. There's certain things that it stands out for, but again, we're talking about shows as a whole.
Well, Ark, what's your number 5?
That would be Amiku MD.
Dr. Detective, excellent choice. That one almost made my list several times. It got barely pushed out, but I'm glad it's on your list because it's a good show.
All right.
Well, my number 5 is solo leveling, because goddamn solo leveling. This, in any other season, would have been number one. But there are several things that just beat it for me personally. But solo leveling is incredible. Season 2 is by far better than Season 1, and I liked Season 1 a lot. Solo leveling is really good shit.
Okay, and my number 4 is I left my A rank party to help my students reach the dungeon depths. At least I think that was the full title.
That is the full title. A rank party is very, very, very good. I totally see why you put it there. Again, that's one that didn't quite make my list, but it's very good. I definitely fully enjoyed it.
Yeah, that just landed real hard with me for a whole variety of reasons that we've talked about. So.
Well, something that landed super hard for me and was on the earlier on your list is Honey Lemon Soda, because holy shit. I just, wow. The drama here is so good. The characters are great. We'll have to do an episode on it at some point, probably.
Hopefully we'll have the chance, but yeah.
Indeed. Well, we're in our top 3. So, Ark, what is your number 3 pick?
Same as yours, The Apothecary Diaries.
So it is the same. I actually didn't realize that. I mean, it's the continued adventures of Mao Mao. I had to put it there. We didn't put a lot on it for this season, but it's still great.
Gotta give props to my cat girl.
Good old Mao Mao. Well, Ark, I guess ask you, what's your number 2 pick?
Solo Leveling.
Excellent choice. I had it earlier on my list with its personal preference difference, but I totally see why it's your number 2. My number 2, surprising absolutely no one, is The Red Ranger Becomes an Adventurer in Another World. Incredibly competent writing. This would have made my list lower, if, pretty much guaranteed by the topic alone, but the fact that it is executed as well as it is, it's funny when it needs to be funny. Bond Merger! And it's also serious when it needs to be, it's romantic when it needs to be, it's heart-touching when it needs to be, and it's action to the max. It knows it's Sentai, it knows it's fantasy, it marries them perfectly. Those are both speaking to me. I couldn't not put this high on my list. Any other season, it would have been my number 1, but I think everyone knows what our number 1 pick is.
Yeah, it's the unexpected breakout hit of the season, at least in our opinion, which is Zenshu.
Heavily under-talked about, which makes me very sad, because Zenshu is amazing. Although our episode on Zenshu did really well. Y'all came out to watch that, so thank you all. Really appreciate that.
It is fundamentally an art house sort of thing, so I'm not so surprised this didn't catch on like Frieren, but I'd say it's of exactly the same quality and should be just as watched.
I absolutely agree. Zenshu, if you only watched one thing this season, it should be Zenshu. It is special beyond imagining. This is one of the reasons I watch animes for shows just like this.
Yep.
Well, that is our award ceremony. So, I guess it's time to start wrapping things up. Ark, why don't you tell us about today's sponsor?
Okay, well, I wouldn't actually call it a sponsorship, strictly speaking. Our airtime here, web time, whatever, has been requisitioned for the broadcast of a public service announcement by the Adeptus Terra. Attention, all loyal Imperial subjects. The Adeptus Terra reminds you of your duty to the God Emperor in all things and at all times. Although you are likely not aware of the many threats that confront our glorious empire, due to the constant effort and sacrifice expended to keep you and your hive city safe, the danger is constant and relentless. Vile heresy and various foolish notions are just as dangerous. Beware new people. Beware new ideas. Burn the heretic. Kill the mutant. Purge the unclean. Now, proceed with your work. The Emperor protects.
Okay. The Emperor protects indeed.
Yep, and let me just say on my own behalf, Ave Imperator.
Ave Imperator. All right. Well, that leaves us with the fun section we go to. Yeah, no, Warhammer's good shit.
I love it.
This leads us to our traditional question of Arc. Where can the people find you?
I'm not even sure. I'm very, very busy these days between work and various other personal endeavors, including this. So I don't even know which way is up right now.
Understandable. As for myself, you can find me on Twitter at LaserKidPrime. You can find me on Blue Sky at LaserKid. And you can find me on the Toonami Faithful podcast, which I haven't been on the last couple, but I will be on the next one as we record this. So you'll be hearing me over there again soon. But good old Toonami Faithful podcast is definitely one we connect with frequently.
Mm-hmm.
As for Simuldub Saints, you can find us on Twitter and Blue Sky at Simuldub Saints. We have a Facebook group, which I fell behind when my computer was dead, but I'm back there posting again. So check us out there. It's linked both on the YouTube page and on the Spotify podcast page, which is where the product itself is. We definitely recommend the YouTube version. I put little fun things on the screen, although lately it's been harder and harder because when we were earlier on, we were a little more jokey. We started taking this more seriously as we've gone on. Although we try to be fun anyway, but I sneak in things where I can. And I try to put more informational graphics and stuff on the screen. It's not the most animated thing. Most of the time, it's just a scrolling background with an image of the show. I would put more like snippets of whatever we're talking about in, but YouTube likes to shut things down, and I've had trouble enough as is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, fair use. What's that?
Oh, I don't know. But yeah, that's where you can find the Simuldub Saints. Well, that about does it for this week's episode of Simuldub Saints. So we'll see you all next time.